Welcome back to 3D Speedy Designs. Today we're excited to share a new product with you, so we wanted to spend some time and go over what's in all of the kit, how to use it, and how it's going to help you. So today we got our 00 car here in the shop. We've been struggling with this car a little bit over the setup as we've been trying to dial it in. We thought we were making progress and kind of stalled out a little bit. So one of the things that we never really had a good tool to measure was bump steer. So today we're going to spend some time going over showing you what we've kind of developed to help the Legend cars and help you measure your bump steer on your car. We won't go into too much detail of do you want bump steer, do you not. Obviously that's very track dependent setup, driver preference. There's lots of things that play into that equation, but you at least should understand whether you have it or not, and if you have it in the direction you think you want it. So that's what we'll do today. So we'll quickly go over what's in the kit. So the kit's going to be a few variety of pieces here that are going to be needed to execute the process. So the first one is an adapter that's going to go on the front wheel. It's got a mirror on it. We got a little tripod that's adjustable, and it's got a laser on it. You'll get two clean new lug nuts. We have a piece here that we're going to use to help move the suspension through the cycle at various increments. To have a nice controlled measurement. We're going to have a target for our laser, and then a couple of things that we'll use. These aren't included in the kit, but we're just going to use our frame height gauge. Ultimately what we want to do is we want to set the car at its static ride height, and then we're going to move the suspension down an inch, up an inch. Typically what you would see on the track, we're going to try to mimic the conditions that actually sees on the track. That, you know, that's really where we care about the bump steer. And then we're also going to just use a good old-fashioned 2x4. This is just a simple block we're going to use to put under the frame. We do have to take the shock off to execute this process. But again, this is just a cheap, easy solution that it's 3.5 inches, which is where we typically set our left front. We're going to use when we do the right side, we're going to use that same block with just a piece of 1/4 inch steel on top to get our 3 3/4 inch. Super simple. There's lots of things around the garage you can do it. You can even cut it to the right lengths this way. Anything's fine. Again, this is meant to be an economical solution to help get your setup all squared away and hopefully make some improvements in track time and the feel of the car, and not have it do some wonky things as you're going into the corner or through the corner. So that's kind of what this car's doing. We suspect that we have an issue with the bump steer, so that's what we're going to go over today. So for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and pull off this fender and the hood just to make things a little bit more visible, because you do have to pull the shock off. So we'll talk about that. I'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and show you how to install. All right, so now we got our front fender off, we got our shock off, we got the wheel off, obviously. I went ahead and I lowered it down on our 2x4 block here, just to not necessarily to let all the pressure off the jack, but just to kind of set it down close to where the ride height is at static conditions. So now one of the things we're going to do is we give this block, and it's got 3 steps on it. The middle step is kind of meant to simulate where this arm will set at the ride height. So we're just going to pick up the suspension, slide it in, and set it on that first step there. And then now we can go ahead and install our mirror adapter. So with the wheel off, it's just going to install nicely on there. When we've got 2 new lug nuts. This is made of plastic, so we always recommend using the new lug nuts. If you've been around Legend cars for a while, you know that the steel on steel lug nuts almost always get galled up and rough. So using these new lug nuts just help keep the tool in good condition and last a long time for you there. And also, you don't need a lot of torque on these. A lot of times we just say hand tight. You just put your socket on here, just give you a little extra grip. Just snug it up. There, and it ain't going anywhere. So, all right, so now I know we didn't talk much about it, but when we talk about bump steer, so as the suspension cycles through its motion, if you have bump steer in it, it means that the tire is going to turn either in or out as it goes up or down. Again, some setups this may be good, some setups this may be bad, but again, this is really about understanding how to measure it, how to tune for it. So when we talk about tuning for it, what you're going to do is you're going to be adjusting your spacers here between your pitman arm and your tie rod. And the same thing up on the inside of the steering rack. You can change the mounting positions, and ultimately what you're going to change is the angle of this, your tie rod versus your lower control arm. And you can put an angle finder on here to kind of measure it, and then you can see how much you're changing the angle. But ultimately what we care about is how much bump steer are we getting out of the car. So that's what we're going to be doing here. I'll go ahead and set up the laser, and then we can start to adjust the wheel, make sure that our laser is hitting our target. And then ultimately what we're going to do to actually measure is we'll start at 0, then we'll use this block, we can pick it up, go up to the top one, so that would basically simulate when the suspension's under compression. And then we can see what happens to our laser dot. If it's moving left or right, that means we do have bump steer, because the laser is going to change the angle of reflection and hence help measure our bump steer. Our target has 1/4 inch increments, so that'll help you kind of keep track if it's moving or not. So, okay, well, let's go ahead and get this set up. And then one thing I did mention is then we'll also drop it down to the lowest part of that block, and that's also going to represent you know, kind of where it would be, you know, maybe under acceleration or something like that. So where the suspension kind of picks up. So, okay. All right, so now we got a distance of roughly about 8 feet is what we're going to be shooting here. You can change the measurement a little bit. The farther you go back, you know, the more accurate your measurement will be. So this will take a little bit of playing around. So you got some adjustment here in the laser to tilt it up and down. You obviously always have the option to move this up and down, but you shouldn't need to. So now you can already see that we got a laser dot over here once you hit the mirror and reflect it back. So one thing we do have a little bit of adjustability into now is you can turn the wheel, obviously, and you can move the dot up or down. And the other thing, I know it's on the back side, but you want to try to get the laser in the middle of the square. So that way when we move it inch up or an inch down, and I do have it on the middle riser right now, so that you know, it stays on the mirror as it goes up and down. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to adjust it to a height that our target will hit it, and we're just going to try to set up our target to be perpendicular to the laser there. And like always with any safety video here, make sure you don't look at the laser. Hopefully we're not all in 2nd or 3rd grade and have to have that warning again, but we'll say it. All right, and then so what we're going to do is we're going to put the longest line here in the middle. That's basically 0, and again, these are 1/4 inch increment lines. And then once we got everything kind of set up, we don't want the hub to turn. You can use a couple different methods. You can use a couple clothespins on each side. That does a pretty good job. I'm just going to use a little piece of towel, and we're just going to wedge it down in there just to help. It doesn't take much to just stop the rotation and just make sure your laser stays where you want it on your line. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, so now real easy. So we got our mark on our target. It's at the 0 point. And now simply all we're going to do is we're going to move it up an inch, see if that line moves side to side, and then we're going to lower it an inch and also see where it goes. So in an ideal situation when you have no bump steer, you want that to basically move vertically up and down that line perfectly. If it jumps over, that's when you got bump steer in the car. So then you can kind of go through the process of changing this angle. So we'll go ahead and drop it to the lowest one. Just lower it down on the block. And we got so much bump steer in it actually went off the target. That's probably one of our problems. Let's go ahead and move it back up to where it was. So there, we're back on center, and let's go up. And we actually moved off the target the other way. So we have a lot of bump steer in this car. So Now this is, again, you can do this with just one side or the other. Again, we're going to work on tuning this side. We're going to play around with the measurements, but ultimately we wanted this laser to kind of be right up and down on this line, but it's moved so far you can only see just how much that's moved over. That's got to be, yeah, it's a lot of bump steer. So again, this is only for relative measurement. You know, this, just because you have a 1/4 inch at this distance doesn't mean that it's a 1/4 inch, you know, of quote unquote bump steer. But again, this is just a tuning tool to help you dial in the relative amount of bump steer you have. So hopefully you found this video helpful. I can certainly say for our car, you know, like I say, we've been chasing some handling issues into the corner, through the corner. And I feel like, you know, obviously there's a lot of things going on here with this. So we're going to work on dialing it in. So if you have any questions, this will be available on our website, www.3dspeedydesigns.com. And while we got kind of some of the car torn apart here, we'll go ahead and showcase some of our other products that are fairly new and have served us really well, and we wanted to at least share them with everyone. The first one is our lightweight upper radiator bracket mount. It's a fairly simple design, but when we bought this car, it actually didn't have an upper radiator support, and you know, the radiator was leaning back a little bit, so we wanted to get that corrected. We didn't have any of the steel INEX ones, so you know, we did what typical engineers do. We made our own. And it ends up working out really well. It comes with a silicone washer between the engine and the actual support. And then it's got, you know, the hardware to attach it both front and rear. And it ends up saving a couple grams, but more importantly, it's also more economical to replace when you get in an accident. I think we charge $10 for it with hardware. And then you can buy just replacement brackets for $5. So first, the $14 or $15 for the INEX one, again, it just ends up being a more economical solution, and you save a couple grams or so there. So it all helps. The other one, it's a little bit hard to see, and I know we have a separate video on there, but is our kind of what we call our front little skid plate or our steering rack saver. And this past week, we actually had the opportunity to test it out inadvertently, and it worked perfectly. We had a car spin out in front of us, unfortunately, you know, we didn't have much time to react, kind of went up and over his rear tires and came down hard on the nose, and the skid plate did make contact with the ground, but like I say, it worked just as intended. It deflected all the energy and absorbed it. None of the steering rack bolts dug into the asphalt. When it does happen to dig in, and we know this firsthand from we've had it happen before, and hence why we developed that product, is when they hit the asphalt and dig in, it pushes this whole front cross member back towards the car, and you know, ultimately you're looking at either a new clip or some repair work with having to push it back out. So it's not good for the track, obviously damaging the surface. It's not good for the racer. So this is just such a great little product that just makes a ton of sense to help avoid damage and keep the cost of racing down. So you know, it didn't even damage it. You know, we broke one zip tie, we added the one zip tie back, and we're still in action. So again, just some of the products we wanted to share with you. Go to our website, www.3dspeedydesign.com. Reach out to us if you have any questions. You can leave comments. We appreciate everyone that supported us so far this year. Yeah, like I say, we appreciate all the support as a small business. Obviously, you know, a lot of these parts are developed, you know, out of need for our own cars, and we've had some other people ask if they could have them, so that kind of started this whole process. But as we get new ideas, we always try to make them available and try to help keep racing economical, help make tools available that, you know, sometimes some of these tools are quite expensive when it comes to some of these suspension setup stuff. So offering an economical solution really helps level the playing field for some of us. So we're glad to do it. And again, if you have new ideas, we're always happy to tackle a new challenge here. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to subscribe and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.